there will be massive spoilers for the entire Xenoblade Chronicles franchise and for possibly the biggest plot device in Xenogears and the Xeno Saga games, but not for Xenoblade X. Also, in the off chance that any of this ends up being correct for the next Xenoblade game, well, you've been warned. I will be referencing theories in 2 of my previous videos, and I'll be providing a quick explanation of them as I bring them up. But if you want a full explanation, check them out on the end screen of this video. Alright, picture this. The story for Xenoblade Defenders of the Conduit will give us brand new characters and a brand new story set in the world of the properly merged Ionios. I think that Origin, which was responsible for properly merging the 2 worlds, becomes a relic at the bottom of the ocean, maybe to be rediscovered at a later point, or maybe even to be used as part of the world that our heroes have to traverse through, like we did with the Titans in Xenoblade 3. I say this because Origin served its purpose in separating the worlds as Nia said it was supposed to in Xenoblade 3, and as we understand, it remerged them properly. If this is indeed the case, then we really have no need for it anymore, assuming everyone that was assimilated into Origin returned to the properly merged world. A even mentioned at the end of Future Redeemed that what we did and all that concerns Origin will become a dim memory, implying that there really will be no need for it in the future. If my theory of what happens to Rex and Shulk at the end of Future Redeemed is true, I think they will play a key role in the next game, since they are essentially spirits or gods of Ionios now, watching over it similar to how Alvis did when he was in Bionis. The reason behind this is because I theorized that they stood in for Numa and Logos in the Trinity processor at the end of Future Redeemed. As always though, there will be new threats trying to get their hands on the ultimate power to do with it what they please, yada yada yada. I'll get to that in just a second though. I personally think that there will be some kind of plague or shortage of resources in the new world of Ionios. Essentially, the world is starting to decay. This creates different factions of people warring over the limited resources, which gives us our premise. In typical Xenoblade fashion though, the player and their crew are trying to figure out exactly what the problem is and how they can fix it. We eventually find out that the problem is that the conduit is not in their dimension anymore, as we know it disappeared from the world of Alrest at the end of Xenoblade 2. Because the conduit was responsible for the creation of the 2 separate worlds which eventually remerged, it being gone has caused the world of New Ionios to slowly start to run out of resources and decay, which is why, you ready for this? The Defenders of the Conduit, Ontos or A, Rex and Shulk, who have inherited Logos and Numa's powers, go looking for the conduit to save the world of Ionios. The reason I say they have Logos and Numa's power is because when they stood in for Logos and Numa along with A as the avatars, I theorized that they inherited their powers while Numa and Logos went to help Noah and the gang destroy Zed. I also had another theory that the power of Numa and Logos was actually in the Sword of the End and Noah's Gauntlet the entire time throughout Xenoblade 3. I should point out that I did theorize Rex, Shulk, Ontos, Numa, and Logos would all become gods of Ionios, but I failed to remember that Noah kinda threw Numa and Logos in the ocean. Good thing I'm not the one coming up with these stories. Anyway, the protagonists of this game will be in search of a fabled blade that can lead them to a power, the conduit, that can fix the issue of Ionios' resources. The power that will lead them there is the power of Numa and Logos that lies in Noah's blade. Just like Rex had to search for the fabled Aegis sword, so does our protagonist search for another Aegis sword in this game. It's like poetry. Rex, Shulk, and Ontos find the conduit, but then they learn its true nature is to actually destroy Ionios and not help it. Remember, the conduit was gone from their dimension at the point in which Origin successfully merged the worlds of Alrest and Bionis properly, which means it had no part in that. The conduit and the Zohar in the Xenosaga games are actually treated almost like forbidden fruit. There are consequences to messing with it, and in this case, the consequence is that whatever it creates, it will eventually destroy. However, it can't act by itself as it's just an object after all. Somebody actually has to activate it. So Rex, Shulk, and Ontos made the difficult decision to stay in that dimension to defend the conduit from any ultra-powerful people who would want to use its power. They chose to let Ionios hopefully find a way to continue sustaining itself some other way. They figured that the chances of someone finding a way to fix everything was better than letting someone evil get their hands on something that could just wipe everyone out. So the protagonists, who having found the power of Numa and Logos in Noah's sword at the bottom of the ocean, embark on their journey to another dimension where the conduit is. But when they arrive, they find themselves fighting Rex, Shulk, and Ontos for the power of the conduit, because Rex and Shulk of course don't know who these people are, and they don't recognize Noah's sword as Numa and Logos are well hidden. They're simply trying to protect the conduit because even those with good intentions will face the consequences of its power. I think it's important to note that the player wouldn't know what the heck Rex, Shulk, and Ontos are doing or why they're trying to stop us as the player until the end of the game. The battle ends with our protagonists getting the upper hand and getting past Rex and Shulk to the conduit, but before they can touch it, the persons of Numa and Logos are reactivated or revived when the sword that carried their powers got close enough to the conduit's power. This prompts Numa and Logos to also want to protect the conduit, so of course everything gets explained, and with Numa and Logos' power restored, they, along with Ontos, use their true Trinity processor powers, which Rex and Shulk didn't fully have, to create a mock conduit of sorts that isn't nearly as powerful, but at least has the ability to sustain life in Ionios forever. I know you might be thinking Monolith Soft wouldn't tell this story and consider it to be outside of the Klaus Saga, since the Trinity processor and the conduit are such big parts of it. But just because Monolith Soft chose to end the saga after our heroes fixed everything Klaus directly screwed up, that doesn't mean the far-reaching impact of what he did can't be explored in a future game, especially considering we'd be exploring more about the conduit itself, which existed without Klaus in the first place. With the popularity the Xenoblade brand has brought, I think Monolith Soft needs to be really careful to stick mainly to the roots of the series that made it so popular in the first place. That includes the gameplay as well, but that's for another video. This isn't a knock on Xenogears or any of the Xenosaga games, and it's also not me saying that the Xenoblade trilogy is better, because I haven't even played anything except for the Xenoblade trilogy. I just know about major plot points in Xenosaga. The fact that can't be denied is that the Xenoblade Chronicles series is what gained popularity. So whether the future of Xenoblade will incorporate the Xenosaga games or somehow Xenoblade X, one thing is clear: things are about to get pretty crazy for the Xenoblade series. But not as crazy as my love for Daddy Chadosaurus Rex. I want to point out that I'm aiming to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, so if you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing, and as always, thanks for watching till the end.